Folks, how are you doing? You are very welcome to another podcast episode of the Behind the Walls podcast with myself, Pete, and
Ferg.
So today, folks, we don't have a guest with us. It's going to be myself and Ferg. So what we're going to do is we're going to call it our summer recap. Basically, what we're going to do is we're going to talk about the start of the year, how we got going with the new uplifting the grants from the SEAI, to where we then went with wars in the Middle East, massive increases in energy prices, and where we want to be, basically getting ourselves winter ready during the summer. So, Fergal, how are you?
Oh, good. How's the summer treating you so far, Pete?
Well, it's nice and warm and all the rest of it. So I've completely forgotten about my heating system, which is a big mistake.
And that's what happens, isn't it?
Yes.
I suppose people don't think about insulation or heating systems when the sun is trying to shine down. But kids are on holidays, people are going on holidays. There's a lot of stuff going on in people's lives.
Priorities change.
Exactly. But what I would say, and while we're recapping, we'll go through grants and all that in a short while, but it is the perfect time to go to that first step that we always talk about, the home energy assessment. If you have that done in the summer months, we'll call it, and then you ring up your SEAI provider in September, October, there's still a chance of getting that work done before the Christmas break. Whereas if you start that process in September, October, I can tell you now, there is no chance. And you know yourself in the building game, Pete, everyone wants everything done for Christmas. The week after doesn't count, but definitely it's all for Christmas. So what I would say to homeowners is prepare in time. This is the perfect time to organise that home energy assessment. Yeah,
absolutely. Santi is very important, and it's always that, I don't know, it's like a milestone that people want to have everything done by Christmas, and I know it's very early in the year, but it absolutely makes sense to be prepared and start now. And the starting point, as you said, is your home energy assessment, because that's your roadmap to getting yourself there. So we're going to do this in 30 to 35 minutes, Fergal, right? So we're going to go right back to the start. So the SEAI uplifted a huge amount of the grants, and they added in a few new grants. So you're the man on feet on the ground, boots on the ground. How have you seen it since homeowners are they taking advantage of this? Has there been, like, the SEAI did say to us that they had, you know, an enormous feedback and a huge amount of people making contact with them. Would you say that that's still happening?
Yeah, we do have huge inquiries, and I suppose just to prove the point that we would have dealt with homeowners over the past 2, 3, 4 years that have already completed a home energy assessment. And they're the ones that are coming back because they have the information to hand. And I suppose the increased grants is one thing, and you have mentioned wars in the Middle East, and that kind of brought to the fore how vulnerable we are to our fossil fuel supply here in Ireland. And that is the nature of most of the phone calls I'm getting, is that the cost of a fill of oil at Christmas was X amount and now it's twice as much. So people can see the difference, and they are looking to future-proof their homes. So there is a lot of interest now in heat pumps. There's a lot of interest in insulating their homes and being winter ready, as we'll say.
Yeah, so we'll jump through the grants, I suppose. So one of the biggest grants that got uplifted was the heat pump grant. So people went from getting about 6,500 up to 10,500.
12.5 now.
12.5 now, yeah. So it's a serious amount of money, and it goes a long way to getting a heat pump fitted into your home. So I presume you're seeing that a lot of people are doing that. I'm certainly getting a bit of a feedback like that myself, but I wouldn't be, you know, as entrenched in the green energy game as you would be.
Yeah, and again, we always talk about the routes to grant funding. Two main routes: the individual grant funding route, which you can apply for just the heat pump on its own, or the one-stop shop route where you're doing a full energy retrofit. A lot of homes are heat pump ready. A lot of people have, say, pump cavities. They have their attics done. There's new individual grants for windows and doors. People are taking advantage of that. And that essentially makes them heat pump ready. So the individual grant for heat pumps is there. 12,500 is broke into 6.5 for the heat pump. There's 2,000 towards changing radiators or central heating, so underfloor heating if that's involved. and there's a 4,000 bonus for renewable heat, is what they're calling it, but it's essentially for getting rid of fossil fuels.
Yes.
So yeah, 12,500. It's a nice chunk of free money, as you like to call it.
I love calling it free
yes,
money. Well,
because it is.
Well, you have to pay for the work to be done, but you do get the grant back.
Yes.
I'm literally currently going through that process. I've received back my grant for my solar panels, and I'm hoping any day soon to get my money back for the heat pump that I've just fitted. So I suppose, look, the war in the Middle East happened quite quickly. We were all listening to Mr. Trump talking about tariffs, and we thought that, you know, he was going to take over Greenland and all this type of stuff was going on, and we all thought that was, I suppose, interesting is a word to put it. But then suddenly this war happened, and we all heard about a piece of water called the Strait of Hormuz.
Who no one had heard of before.
No, I thought it was I thought it was a football
a holiday destination
or something. Yeah. So look, it basically became every day we were listening to the Strait of Hormuz. Was it open? Was it going to be open? Were they going to go through? And bombs were being sent. And look, the end result from us in Ireland was that cost of energy and cost of diesel and oil went through the roof. You know, so. At this moment in time, there's been a fragile peace agreement literally last night or the night before. So do we think that this is all going to resolve itself? Are we going to go back to where we were? What do you think?
I think that, yes, oil prices will come back down.
Yeah.
But, as I've said already, it has shown how vulnerable we are. So people are afraid of something happening in the future.
Yeah. So
whether it's a war or whether just purely supply and demand for oil.
Yeah.
It's like oil is not going to last forever. I do see homeowners actually talking about this all the time, how they want to future-proof. Future-proof is probably a good word for it, where they're looking at heat pumps now. Just get away from oil altogether because, again, the word vulnerable, and that's what it is. Like, look how much trouble we were in within a week or 2 weeks.
Yeah.
It's amazing how much trouble we were in 2 weeks, or amazing how the price fluctuated.
Yeah.
And it's probably for another podcast, but EVs, same thing. Sales in EVs have gone through the roof. Yeah. There's also extra grants for those, for anyone interested in EVs. But again, it shows that people are conscious of the price at the fuel pump, and they're also conscious of heating their homes with oil.
Yeah, so look, the fossil fuel element of it was something that certainly the SEAI grants are guiding you towards, you know, moving away from. We all know that as a nation, Ireland have signed up to reduce our carbon footprint to a certain amount, and that's why there's such a push to get people to get their homes up to, you know, a better energy efficiency rating, and to try and go for a more environmentally friendly way of heating their homes. So all of that has happened, and you're dead right. Like, within literally a week, we went from knowing that the price of fuel was going to go through the roof to then wondering, were we going to actually have enough to be able to continue in our normal everyday lives. Obviously, we had the protests, rightfully so, with the agri and the transport people, and I can totally understand how their industry is affected really badly. We're here, obviously, always talking about retrofit and about homeowners. So the homeowner, if they were getting a fill of oil, would have really felt the pinch. Now, the timing of the war was quite lucky for them, because they probably only had to get one or maximum two really expensive oil fills. And again, there was the uncertainty, because, like, let's be honest, we thought that war could have went on for years, even though we were here and it was going to be over, you know, this weekend and that weekend and all this type of stuff. It does sound as though it's getting closer to coming to an end. But the reality of it is, everybody was so vulnerable from driving our diesel cars or our petrol, and then our fossil fuel at home. So is now the right time for people to say, right, listen, I'm going to make myself as self-sufficient as I possibly can?
Yeah, I think so. I think, again, back to, it's just planning, isn't it?
Yeah.
Like, you're totally right. If this had kicked off next September, October, it would have been a different story, and
could have had 6 months of
pure
pain.
I don't know what protests would have achieved at that stage, because we would have been in huge trouble.
Yeah.
I mean, the transport side of things was one thing, because you need that fuel to keep going.
Yeah.
But people were lucky enough that they weren't heating their houses the way they would have been in the wintertime, you know. So yeah, it shows where we are, and it does show that people need to move away from fossil fuels. I mean, it's so fragile that the whole heating system on oil or gas, but oil especially now. But it just shows how quickly we get in trouble.
So the other option then is obviously a heat pump, which is electricity.
Yes.
But also electricity went up, and I don't know if the cost of electricity is going to come down as quickly as the cost of oil is going to come down. So I do think that it's important that if you have the opportunity to be self-sufficient, and solar panels, I suppose, is definitely a good opportunity for that. So while the grant for the solar panels hasn't increased in the last couple of years, it's around €1,800. Am I right in saying that?
1,800 for a 4 kilowatt system.
4 kilowatt system, yeah. And so if somebody is thinking about going solar, is it a good time to do it? I've just done it. Give me your opinion, and then I'll give you exactly my situation.
Yeah, I do say all the time though that solar PV is the cherry on top measure out of all retrofit or energy efficiency measures, because there's not much point in having a huge solar system and still burning oil, we'll say. So it does sit well in a fully electric house, which is obviously your heat pump version of your heating system. But as you were saying, that like, will electricity prices come down? They may level off, but what you're only dealing with one bill anymore, Pete. So that does make it has to be a consideration as well. But my view on PV, absolutely. I mean, it's a huge contributor in the summer months when you're not heating your home and you're only looking at hot water. I mean, you don't need a diverter when you have a heat pump, because your PV is creating electricity, your heat pump is using electricity. So they sit perfectly well together. So the question I have for you, though, are you an app watcher? Yeah. Because people get obsessed with apps on solar PV. Yeah. And it's funny to see people that have solar PV. You could be out for a pint on a Friday night and someone is checking to see how much energy they saved that day or how much they made, which is gas. But it's the nature of it, isn't it? Yeah, so
I suppose just to reinforce your first point, solar is definitely the cherry on top. There's no point in going and getting solar if you haven't got insulation in your attic and you're already that far down the food chain. But if you have invested in your home, if you have taken advantage of a few of the grants, and if you have your home up to a fairly good BR rating, I think definitely a really, really good investment in your home is going with solar panels on your roof or ground mounted. So I've just recently fitted in 20 solar panel system, ground mounted, and I've got 4 batteries. So I went all in on it. I'm going to be honest, I got a very good deal on it, and I decided, myself and my partner decided, myself and Sharon decided, let's go for this, and it was worth. We felt it was worth putting the money in, but then I became an app watcher, because I wanted to make sure that I was checking to see if the investment was paying off. So we got the solar panels fitted in January, and guess what happened? It rained for literally 2 months solid, and so obviously there was very little daylight. It was during the periods of time when there was less daylight hours. If I'm honest, I was still trying to get my head around the whole system. And the one thing that became very apparent to me the more I looked into it, and it's not a black art, it didn't actually take that much to get my head around it, but it's like anything, until you've actually had the chance to really, learn about something and to get the behind the scenes of it, I suppose, a lot of things just fell into place, and I had a lot of light bulb moments, excuse the pun. But basically, if you have solar panels set up with your batteries, during the summer in particular, you're going to get a lot of sunlight hours, because obviously the days are longer, and we are getting some quite good sunshine these days. Now, it'll also work off daylight, so even on a cloudy day, like literally 4 or 5 days ago, there was a really wet day, and my solar panel system still generated 16 kilowatts of power that day, which is quite good on a really bad day. On a really good day, I'm generating over 40 kilowatts of power. But so this is the thing that it took me a while for the pennies to drop. So when do you need your electricity the most? It's usually in the evenings during the summer, because that's when the temperature drops and you might need your heating system to kick in for a small period of time. So that's really when you need your power the most. So that's why the batteries are very important, because you're definitely getting enough sunlight to run your whole house during the day, free. So you're off grid during the day. it's in the evening time when the sun goes down and you're not generating any more energy. That's when you need your batteries to kick in. And then also I changed provider, so I changed from the previous energy provider to another one, and I basically have it set up now that I've got a really low, because I've got an EV charger. I was able to so I've got a hybrid car, so we've got the plug-in EV charger. So I have that set that the car will only charge between 2 o'clock and 5 o'clock in the morning, as in nighttime. And also that's when I'm getting my cheapest rate. So I'm charging the car really cheaply, but I also have my batteries set up so that when they they discharge all of the power into running the home, then they will charge during that really cheap time as well. So I have the house set up in the best possible way. In literally the last kind of month, I have it kind of tweaked to getting it right. And the energy consumption is so low now. So there's times when I'm actually ahead where I'm selling back to the grid. So I'm selling back to the grid at 18 and a half cent is what they will give you selling out. So during peak times they'll charge you more, but then in the evening and nighttime rates are getting reduced. So it's all about, not only is it about just having solar panels, I genuinely believe now that you have to have your storage there as well, because that's what's getting you through the peak times and allowing you really maximise your return. So yes, I am an app watcher, and it's great to see the results. It also makes sure that you can check your results off of your bills as well, to make sure that you're keeping manners on the provider. So look, it's been a very positive thing for me. I can see that my bills would always drop during the summer anyway, but I know the way that I have it set up now that I'm going to start saving a lot of money through the solar. And the last point I'd make on it is, yes, I'm still going to have a bill during the winter, but I will at least have some amount of credits that I can trade off against the energy that I'm using. I'm going to try my best to have it so that the energy that I'm using is at the cheapest rates. So over the year, the long sunlight hours and the money that I'm generating and the energy that I'm generating and selling back to the grid will then offset against the shorter days and the colder times during the winter. So I can tell you out straight, it was a good investment for us. I obviously know the final results in over a full year, but reading the results that I had from January until now, I can really see that the system is operating properly.
Yeah, and there's a few very good points there. What I would say is that there's probably two main things that I from listening to you. It's not always about putting in the biggest system possible.
No.
Sometimes that becomes counterproductive in terms of you're not trying to export. Fair enough, you get paid for exporting, but it's not you're not going to retire from it. You shouldn't be doing it. So export, I suppose PV systems should be sized for your usage. Yeah. And that's the second point, is that it's taken you a few weeks to work out how your house actually runs, and that's an important point, that you now know the best version of that system. And it's very hard for an installer to actually set that system up for you when they're not using the house. So there's all kinds of varieties of reasons why you'd set things up differently, but different houses are used in different ways. You can have young kids, you can have a lot of showers going, you can have baths going, etc., etc. There's loads of reasons. Or you could be an empty nester like me, where you're not using as much. So you don't need a bigger system. So definitely, when you're talking to PV installers, apart from orientation and roof size and all those important sides of things, but the actual usage is a very important thing to get across in your message. You don't need the biggest system possible is my point on it. Yeah,
you're dead right, and I should have clarified that. I don't see this as a way of generating income at all. But what I do, my house was consuming a lot more than the average house would be. The size of the house, the BR rating is not bad now, but it's if I was to build it from scratch, it would be a lot higher. So there's a lot of factors involved, and you're dead right. Then the fact that we have the car charging as well, all those type of factors you do have to take into account. So I suppose that's my experience on it, and I will continue to monitor. And don't worry, I'll continue to tell you my results on my app.
But it's also important to get a kind of a year's worth of information. Yeah. So when you're saying that my bills in the winter are higher and my bills in the summer are less, when you look at that over a 12-month period and divide it by 12 and say, well, it actually costs this to run my house per month, that's more realistic than saying it costs very little in the summer and it costs more in the winter.
Yeah.
So it's good to have a year worth of data to have a look at. Yeah.
And you have to review it like that. It's not something that if you were to talk to someone for the 3 or 4 months of the summer period of time, it sounds great. And then talk to the same person, and if you were to keep them in isolation during winter, it's going to be a completely different discussion. So the last point I would make on it is that the app is actually really easy and really user-friendly. It is, though, and it gives you great information, and you're able to, it'll tell you straight away how much...
Too easy, yeah.
It tells you how much you've generated from the sunlight. It'll tell you how much your house has consumed. Yeah. It'll tell you how much your batteries have delivered, and it'll also tell you then the grid, which is the most important one, how much your grid is used. So your energy consumption, if you've got batteries, and your grid are two different things, because your batteries are kicking in at the right periods of time. So look, again,
some of those apps can go into appliance by appliance if you really want to get into data geek. But I mean, you can go too far on it too. I mean.
But the most important thing is it tells you when you're using your usage.
Yes.
And that's what I was able to then make my decision as to the right plan to go for when I was changing my provider. And again, that's something everybody should be changing their provider every year. As soon as your contract is up, you just go to them, and you can still stay with the same provider. But if you don't pick the phone up and make the phone call, they will switch you from that plan to their standard plan, which is going to be much less efficient. And that actually happened to me as well. So my last provider just switched, and again, I got caught for about a month using the higher rates until I, took the time to go and actually make the phone calls, and it was very quick. So I would advise that people do that. Okay, so moving on then. Okay, so we've had our grants at the start of the year. We've discussed kind of where we are today and the possibilities of oil prices coming back down again. There's been another talk, there was talk, and then there was more grant changes, but it was got to do with the warmer home scheme. Is that correct?
It's the approved housing bodies, actually.
Okay.
Yeah, and the grants have gone up significantly. So,
so explain that, the approved housing bodies.
So approved housing bodies, I mean, people will know all the big names like TUA, Respond, Fluid, all those. They're all housing associations where they provide housing, social housing. Yeah. So they would have huge amounts of housing stock in the country, and again, everyone is aiming to get up. I don't think anyone is talking about B2 anymore. I know the BER was changed, so it's just a B now, but I think everyone was trying to go as high as they can. Okay. But with the grant changes, what I have seen from what the housing associations we've been dealing with, they're now up to kind of 85 to 95% and even 100% funding. Okay. So it's a kind of a no-brainer for them and for the government to reach targets. This is now low-hanging fruit where there's very little capital being spent by the housing associations to bring these units up to standard,
Okay, so anybody who's listening here that has a connection with any of the housing bodies, there's grants there available. It's a no-brainer. They need to go and start trying to take advantage of these grants.
Yeah, and there was a few changes. There's in an effort to reduce the list on the warmer home scheme. The warmer home scheme is a free energy upgrade scheme with I think it's a 2-year waiting list currently. So in an effort to reduce that, they've brought out a set of grants for energy poor, which is an awful phrase, but that's the phrase they use. So people that qualify for the warmer homes, to put it in a better phrase, I suppose, can avail of these set grants. Yeah. And they are more aligned to kind of 100% grants. Okay. Like the likes of, we'll say, a heat pump. A private homeowner will get 12,500, as we were saying. A housing body will get 14,500. But these warmer home ones that you can apply individually can get 16,500. So they're getting very close to kind of free upgrades. Okay. Now that scheme is only available through the community energy grants. Okay. So if you are on the warmer home scheme and you're looking to speed up the process, whether that be attic, wall, heat pumps, whatever you're looking at, look into that and contact a community energy grant coordinator, and you can take it from there. But yeah, it's just in an effort to get people off that list and try and speed up all these works,
Okay, very good. That's all very positive stuff. So we're sitting here in our t-shirts, nice and cozy and warm. But as they said in Game of Thrones, I think winter is coming. So the reality of it is, unfortunately, human nature is, I feel warm. My priorities have changed. We said that at the start. I don't have to worry about the heat in my home because it's warm most of the time during these months. What's your advice to people? I know everybody think about holidays. I know people, like kids, are going to be off school. We kind of move into that lovely summer period of time where we're going away for weekends and doing all those type of things. Is it a good piece of advice to say, yes, do all of those lovely things, but also maybe now is the best time to reach out to get a grant, to get a contractor to come in and do work? What would you say to homeowners?
Can I be Jon Snow? That's all I want to be. So, yeah, unless you have a dragon at home to keep you warm this winter, I think it's about just planning, Pete, isn't it?
Yeah.
Did you see the way I did that?
Scheming, like they do in Game of Thrones.
Scheming, but no high walls to protect. But it's about planning, and it is as simple as that. So whether the sun is shining outside or you don't feel like the heating system is an issue, and obviously it's not, it's about, again, getting through next winter.
Yeah.
It keeps coming around, and it never stops, So winter is always coming.
Yeah.
So I know it's hard to talk about it when you're in the middle of summer, but it is important to plan. And again, back to even that piece of work, the home energy assessment. If you had that out of the way, that's kind of, you're looking at 3 to 4 weeks of a waiting time the next time you go around. So the earlier you do that,
So I know on previous podcasts we've gone into this, and we literally had a full podcast with a home energy assessor, so with Home McGann. But let's give our listeners now 30 seconds to a minute on what exactly a home energy assessment is, and I got it done as well, so I'll tell you the value of it at the end. So a home energy assessment is basically...
Yeah, so a home energy assessment is a suite of documents, and I suppose the way to look at it is that it provides you with the required information to make an informed decision on what measures you're going to install and which route you're going to go, whether that be individual or the one-stop shop all in one go. So what's involved is, or what's provided is, a BER cert, an up-to-date BER cert. You get your standard advisory report that you get with any BER cert. You get a dwelling report, which is going to be all boring stuff for homeowners, but that's the black and white kind of runnings and calculations of U values and what's existing in your home. And then you get a proposed detailed dwelling report of how it affects each change, we'll say. Now, that's all black and white, and homeowners have no interest in it. The kind of colourful piece is the energy upgrade roadmap, which is step by step how each measure improves your BER rating. And then obviously you get estimate costs as well. Now, I was at a conference last week where someone was giving out about the cost of a home energy assessment was €300 after the grant. And I was kind of saying, well, if you went out and looked just for the BER, you'd be lucky to get one for €300. And there's also a heat pump technical assessment, which measures the heat loss indicator. Without getting too technical, it just is looking at how to make your home heat pump ready.
Yeah.
That report in itself is about €650. And now there's a €200 grant with that, but the two combined are well over €600-700 kind of thing. Whereas the home energy assessment, there's €350 of a grant from SEAI. And just to emphasise that that's a standalone report, a standalone piece of work, so there's no commitment required after you do this assessment. But for €300, the information you're getting, and you've gone through it, but you get huge information to make those decisions. So with the estimate costs, that is also going to determine whether you're going to do this piecemeal over 2, 3, 5 years. And it's all down to budget again. I mean, if you can afford to do it all in the one go, the one-stop shop route is the way to go. But yeah, great information to have. But again, the earlier you have it, the more time you have to kind of ponder over it and weigh everything up for yourself. And
prioritise. So we got it done on our house. Basically, the guys come to the house. Well, one person came to the house. I had my plans. I was able to give them the plans, but they went around the whole house. Very quick survey. They're not looking at your house and how you live. They're simply looking at the fabric of the building, and they put a valuation on it, which obviously is your BER rating. The BER rating has to be very clear. You need that anyway to get your grants, and I don't think the SEAI really put that out there as obviously as they should. You need to get this document done because you're going to need it to get the grants later on anyway. And you have to get a pre-BER rating and a post-BER rating in a lot of the grants. So this document makes total sense to get as well. But you're dead right, a very simple document. I was actually really watching to see how good it would be because I knew the house inside out myself, and I was amazed at how accurate the report was. I was able to sit down with Sharon and we were able to look at it, and being honest with you, the report was able to describe stuff a lot easier than I would, and we made our decisions then as what the next step would be. And that's what we then went for our heat pump, because it made sense to go for that. And then after that, then we went for solar panels afterwards. So look, it makes your next decisions very easy. It's a very quick and easy process. There's a grant available for it. It makes total sense to get this done. And as you said, and this is very important, there's no obligation. Just because they're an independent person as well. It's not somebody from the SEAI or the government that's coming to your house. It's basically an independent person that comes out, gets this report, gives you the information. And if you never do another single thing with it, that's your decision. But if you do, you straight away have your pre-BER rating, pre-grant BER rating done, and you have the documentation to be able to move forward. When you have your grant work done, you can go back to the same assessor and ask that assessor to do your post-BER rating as well. So it makes total sense to get this done. And I really do think it's something that should be pushed a bit stronger from the SEAI to get people, to let people understand what it is and to get people on the road. So, okay, we've done it, okay? It's being done. Next steps then, Fergal, before winter comes, and we need to get the dragons out. So basically, what are the most common mistakes that you see people making at this time of the year?
Oh, don't get into the I suppose the misinformation. Yeah. We won't get into myth busting, but I mean, make sure that you contact SEAI with any questions you have. There are people that have gone on and completed works and then kind of contact someone looking for grants.
That's the biggest mistake anybody
We've
could ever
discussed this before,
yeah,
and there's actually no comeback from it.
No.
When the work is done, it's done, and there is no grant.
So what you're saying is, do not get any work done until you have your grant
Absolutely
approval
not.
and you have your all your paperwork in place.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And the grant is it's an instantaneous response from SEAI.
Yeah.
So generally, usually an email,
Yeah.
And that email is what they will call a letter of offer. So that's your contract with SEAI. These are the measures you've applied for. This is the grant amount approved. But do not do any work until you have that piece.
And it's a very simple thing to do. I've done it a couple of times now. You basically fill out the paperwork online, you send it, and you get an instantaneous answer, literally an email within 30 seconds to a minute, letting you know that your application has been received, and pretty much, based off your information that your grant has been
that's
accepted.
the individual grants, one-stop shop. You don't even have to fill out the form. The one-stop shop will do it for you. But again, you cannot do any work before you get that letter of offer approval.
Absolutely.
Very important. I can't stress it enough.
One of the biggest mistakes that I think people do is they don't do anything. So this time of year, as we said there a few minutes ago, they just forget about it. Just say, look, you know what, we'll kick the can down the road a little bit further. Be a bit proactive now. Like, there is a process involved here. It's quite a quick process. It depends on which route you're taking. But if you're going for a one-stop shop, or if you're going for an individual grant, it's a relatively quick process, but there is a process involved. Getting your home energy assessment and getting, all of the steps along the road. So one of the first biggest mistakes that I think people make is they just don't do anything, or they wait too long. Now is the right time. Home energy assessors are not going to be as busy, so they're going to be more available. Contractors are not going to be as busy. It's one of the only times that a plumber will actually probably answer his phone, because he's waiting for it to ring. As soon as cold weather comes in, don't stand beside a plumber, because your ears will be ringing, because his phone just won't stop ringing with people looking for servicing, looking for, getting their heating systems back up and running, stuff like that. So get ahead of the curve. Is that fair to say?
Yeah, and when does a boiler break down?
As soon as it gets cold.
When you need it.
Yeah.
And that's very important. Another thing that I've noticed is human nature, that they'll contact you in the end of September, October. It's after getting a bit chilly. They're saying, I'm not going through another winter of this. Yeah. But by the time everything is sorted out, you could be looking in January, February, and then they're gone through the worst of it, and then again they leave it on the long finger. Yeah. So again, they're gone through a whole summer, and it doesn't hit them again until they feel the cold again. Yeah. So I think you should think back and remember the cold.
And feel it, because, but also, like, if you're in your home and, like, in the evening, in a cool evening now, if you feel a draft or something like that, like you should record that, and you should actually say to yourself, right, that's something that we need to address. So let's start addressing it now. There's nothing worse than trying to stop something. I'd always recommend never get up on your roof during a storm. Fix the roof before or after the storm. Do you know what I mean? So if you've got cold coming in, identify it and try and get those works done, you know, slowly but surely, and get a start now to get ahead of the works.
And look back at your invoices for fill of aisles and all that kind of stuff. Remind yourself. Remind yourself of what you said last year. You said, we're never going through this again.
Yes.
And yet you are.
So, like, taking advantage of the grants, like, that's another thing. Like, I mean, like, the grants won't be around forever. They have uplifted a bit
carrot
this year.
And stick.
The carrot and the stick, your favourite saying. So we're definitely in the phase where the carrot is being dangled. Please come and take this lovely grant and get the work done. Eventually that'll be taken away. And what you mean by the stick is that there's a good chance that they'll start saying to you, you didn't take advantage of it, and now we're going to start taxing you because your house is not energy efficient enough. That's the worst case scenario.
There's not a good chance of it. It's a certainty.
Okay,
that's where we're going.
Okay.
Yeah.
So then in terms of like, just we kind of mentioned it there, tradespeople and contractors being available, you know, come September, October, you know, anybody who's involved in, you know, fitting insulation and in terms of the heating, they're going to be much less available. So it makes sense to contact them now, get the prices now. You probably get a slightly better price during a period of time when they're not as busy, and they'll definitely be more available. Is that fair to say?
Yeah, and if you go through the process from home energy assessment on to follow-on surveys from heat pump installers or insulating contractors, then you have a plan in place. Now, there's nothing stopping you from saying, can you come in the first week of October?
Yeah.
But at least you haven't booked in.
Yeah.
Whereas there's a big difference than ringing someone in the first week of October, because, as you said, plumbers' phones don't even answer them or whatever. It's just a lot more difficult because everyone is looking at supply and demand, and that's all it is. Yeah, it's as simple as that. But yeah, being prepared, you know, right keen, you know. Yeah. Fail to prepare, prepare to fail. But good. That's it, exactly. Like, I mean, and that assessment, I mean, I know we keep going on and on and on about this assessment, but the homeowner has to allow someone in to assess their house for an hour and a half or 2 hours. That's all they have to do. Yeah. They don't have to walk around with them. They don't have to do anything. That's it. Just give them access for that, and that's that piece of work done. Yeah. So it is as simple as that. So, Fergal, we've all gone through a little mini crisis, let's say, with the war in the Middle East after happening. Do you think genuinely, is there a way of being fully self-sufficient? Is there a way of being crisis-proof? Yeah, it's funny you should say we all went through it, because I renovated or retrofitted or energy upgraded my house a few years ago, and I didn't feel the bite that people were talking about. Okay. So, yes, electricity prices have gone up over the years, but the recent war in the Middle East didn't affect electricity. So I didn't have any increase in electricity, and I also have an EV, so I didn't see the price at the fuel pump. Yeah. You know, I'm only going into the garage to get a carton of milk. I'm not getting So you're a couple of years ahead of where I am now. Yeah. Yeah, so you had that in place. So I've probably got myself into a position where if this was to happen again, that I'd be in a better place. But you didn't feel as much of a pinch. Yeah, I didn't see the pinch in terms of, obviously, I didn't have to get an oil fill, so I didn't see that side of it. And I don't have diesel or petrol, so I don't see that side of it. So is it fair to say then that if like any step that you take towards making your home more energy efficient and being more self-sufficient in terms of having solar panels or, you know, not relying on fossil fuels, is a step towards getting away from this kind of making yourself a little bit crisis-proof, or certainly reinforcing yourself from a future problem? Taking you out of that vulnerable bracket, you know, I mean, and it's down to, even, you mentioned it earlier, switching supplier every year reduces costs. There's more options. The smallest of measures makes a difference. Yeah. I mean, those snakes that you put under your front door in the winter, I mean, it mightn't look like it's doing anything, but it's obviously keeping the cold out. Yeah. Obviously, it's better to upgrade the door, but I'm just saying that the small moves do add up as well. So that's why we'd always say that the quick wins are like attic installation. Yeah. When the grants are so high and you're paying maybe a couple of €100 along with the grant, why would you not do that? I mean, it doesn't make any sense not to do it, to be honest. Yeah, so be proactive. Basically, any action that you take is moving yourself a little bit more towards being less affected by a change in oil prices or energy costs going up in the future. And then again,
you know, if you can keep on adding and investing in your home. And again, look, it's important that, you know, you have to consider, is it your forever home and is it worth investing? Because, you know, there are short-term investments. I would say your attic insulation is an immediate one. Get insulation into your attic and you're going to very quickly see the result, and that's a short-term investment. And the payback on the grant is so good now that it's a no-brainer. But then the likes of moving on to the other bigger pieces of work, like a full external wrap, a full retrofit through a one-stop shop, and then obviously you've got your cherry on top, like you say, like solar and that type of thing moves you in that direction.
And just on that point, because that's an interesting one, I wouldn't not do anything because it's not my forever home.
Yeah, it's fair enough.
I'm after seeing a good few examples over the last couple of months where the value of a home that's at an A rating is far superior to the D rated one down the road, and it's probably the first time I've seen such a difference.
Yeah.
So I would say that the cost of the works minus the grants is superseded by the increase in value of the house.
Yeah.
And I do see, now maybe that's a kind of a natural thing and the house prices are going up anyway.
Yeah.
But it's the first time I've seen such a difference between an A rated and a D rated
I've seen it myself. Yeah. I've seen it myself where two houses on the same road, pretty much the same size, but one of them has had a retrofit done and has had a lot of the energy upgrades done on it, is basically 50 grand more expensive or more than the same house on the same road.
And back to something we used to always say here as well, houses and property was always location, and now it's location, BER. Yeah. People do have a huge consideration. There's a huge consideration taken when you see the difference in the rating. Because if you're buying an F-rated house on the same street, you know that to get that to an A-rated house, it's going to cost X amount. So you have to weigh that up in your calculations when you're looking at purchasing.
And I think most people are educated enough to know that if they don't get it anywhere, it's going to cost them a lot of money to run that house in terms of the energy efficiency of the home, just to literally live in it, have hot water, try and have the house.
Good point,
So I think people are definitely weighing that up. They're saying, look, you know, even if there's somebody who feels as though they could live in an older house that's got a low BR rating, the reality of it is it's going to cost them on a monthly basis to do that. Yeah,
and even if we're just saying it's not your forever home, even if you're planning on moving on in 4 or 5 years, that house upgraded will be worth a lot more than that house not upgraded. Plus, you get the comfort of living there in the upgraded house. Yeah. You know, so I mean, and it's definitely an easier sell.
Yeah, and look, the reality of it is, you know, living in a house that has got a good energy efficiency and the likes of 24-hour hot water from an air to water heat pump or something like that, like the quality of life that brings you, it's something that is very hard to put into words, but you can certainly feel it when you have it.
Yeah.
So that was an excellent summary, Fergal. Well done. I'm very impressed.
Thanks very much, Pete.
No problem. We should do it more often. But one thing I would say is, again, you're the man with the finger on the pulse. Is there anything new that people can expect? Is there any little rumours and whispers in the hallways of retrofit?
There's works in progress.
Okay.
One is the renovation passport that's coming whenever it comes.
Renovation passport. So a house is going to have a passport.
House is going to have a passport, yeah.
Okay. So I actually heard about this as well.
Kind of a pathway. We'll call it a pathway but I think it's a podcast on its own.
Yeah.
And I think we should get someone from the Irish Green Building Council in, maybe Pat Barry or Marion, and they would be best to explain where the origins came from and where we're going with it.
Yeah.
But it's something to talk about in the future.
Certainly is.
Yeah, it's
something that's coming. You heard it here first on the Behind the Walls podcast. There's definitely I'm pretty sure that it's going to happen. It's not a case of if, it's a case of when this happens.
Yes. Oh, absolutely. It's in the pipeline and it's on the way.
Anything else?
Yes. One thing.
Go on.
If I was running this, what I would like to see happening.
If
I was running this
country
effort to achieve targets,
okay,
and so many heat pump installations, etc., what I would do is bring in an actual heat pump special electricity rate, because we've mentioned it earlier. You mentioned it there a second ago about buying second-hand houses. Running people. Costs is a huge consideration. So it's okay saying, right, we'll install it and just grants there for installing the likes of heat pump systems. But there are concerns over the running costs. Now, there's an awful lot of negativity published out there, which most of it is actually not true.
Yeah.
There is generally a reduction in running costs. But if you had a set running cost that you knew was going to cost you every year, you'd be much more inclined to go down the heat pump route and make your home more energy efficient.
Yeah. So what you're saying is a rate that's set by.
Yeah, and
so
I don't
a
see
bit
why
like
you
they've
couldn't
given
do it.
the EV rate for charging a car. I give one. It's an excellent idea.
And even if it was a kind of a 5-year deal that any house with a heat pump in it, instead of paying whatever it is now for a unit of electricity, it was 20 or 40% less.
Yeah.
Wouldn't that incentivize people to go down that route?
Certainly would.
So
One
if there's
thing-
anyone of importance listening to this podcast,
Yeah, it's a great idea.
you heard it here first.
Yeah, great idea. One thing that I have, and I know you've heard about this as well, is that there is talk of an entity coming into the country that may be able to improve the efficiency of heat pumps themselves as well. And if that does happen, it's nothing guaranteed, but if it does, we'll certainly be looking at getting them onto the podcast and discussing what it is that they have in store for the Irish industry.
Again, that same entity is saying exactly what I'm saying in terms of if you could say to someone, well, it's going to cost you X amount to run that for the year, you'd be much more inclined to go down that road. Ooh. If you could guarantee it.
Well, I think we took a couple of skeletons out of the closet there now, I have to say. So, folks, thank you very much for tuning in. I think we've given you a lot of really good value there. We tried to snap through it as quick as we could and give you the required information as well. As always, please share, tell your friends about it, tell your mother about it, tell your brother about it, tell your sister about it, tell everybody about it, because we're trying to just give you free, good information here that you can help homeowners upgrade their homes in the most efficient way. We're not trying to sell you anything. We're just trying to give you some good information. Fergal, thank you very much.
Yeah, and I'd just like to, before we finish, what a great podcast to have if you're lying on a deck chair in the sun in Spain and we're talking about heating systems and insulation and dragons and winter is coming. So, look, it's never far away, the winter.
Yeah.
Thanks to you, Pete.
Well,
you're looking well for the summer.
If you're a redhead like me, make sure you put a few bit of sunscreen on as well. Thanks very much, folks, and we'll see you on the next one. Over now.